We often hear that goals are important, but few of us truly understand the transformative, almost magical power they hold. To unleash the power of goals is to unlock a fundamental force of human achievement. It is the difference between being a passenger in your own life, simply watching the scenery go by, and taking the wheel as the driver, decisively choosing your destination and the route you will take to get there. This isn't just about productivity, it's about purpose. It's about moving from a state of reaction to a state of creation, where you actively design the life you wish to live brick by brick, goal by goal. Goals. What motivates people? The journey toward a better life almost always begins with a moment of awakening. For me, that moment came over a simple breakfast. One morning, 2 weeks after I started working for him, my friend and I were having breakfast together. The conversation was light, but I could sense he was leading me toward a lesson. Just as I was about to finish my eggs, he set his fork down and looked at me with that calm, knowing gaze he had. "Let's take a look at your list of goals," he said, "so that we can review and discuss them. Maybe that's the best way I can help you right now." I shifted uncomfortably in my seat. "But I don't have a list with me," I replied, hoping that would suffice. "Well, is it out in your car or at home somewhere?" He persisted gently, not letting me off the hook. "No, sir," I had to admit, a feeling of foolishness creeping in. "I don't have a list anywhere." My friend sighed, not with anger, but with the patience of a mentor who has seen the same scenario play out too many times. "Well, young man," he said, "looks like this is where we'd better start." Then, he leaned forward, looking directly into my eyes, his expression turning serious. "Let me share a little observation," he said. "If you don't have a list of your goals, I can guess your bank balance within a few $100s. He then stated a figure. He guessed right. It was as if he had seen my bank statement. That really got my attention. I was astonished. My mind was racing. "You mean?" I stammered, "that if I had a list of my goals, my bank balance would change." "That is exactly what I mean," he replied. The external world is very often a reflection of our internal clarity, or lack thereof. That day I became a student of the art and science of goal setting. I realized that if I wanted my outer world to change, I first had to change my inner world. I had to build a detailed blueprint in my mind before I could build a better reality. Of all the things I've learned since those early days, goal setting has had the most profound effect on my life. It was the catalyst, the keystone habit that made all other progress possible. Every aspect of my existence, my accomplishments, my income, my bank balance, my lifestyle, my donations to causes I care about, and even my personality and confidence changed for the better. I became more decisive, more focused, and more resilient because I had a clear destination in mind. The fog of daily life lifted, replaced by a clear path forward. I am so convinced that mastering goal setting can have a profound effect on your life that I'm going to devote a great deal of space to discussing this often misunderstood process. This is not a trivial exercise. It is a foundational skill for designing a life of purpose and prosperity. In fact, I urge you to do more than just read the following chapters. Study them, internalize the principles, and if you have a notebook handy, so much the better. Be ready to engage, to question, and most importantly, to write. The physical act of writing down your goals is a powerful first step in turning the invisible into the visible. T poerof darams, to understand goals. We must first understand their origin, our dreams. Each and every one of our lives is affected by several powerful forces. One of those factors is our environment, where we live, the values we were taught by our parents, which schools we attended, the circles of friends we keep. Each plays a significant role in shaping our perspectives and our possibilities. We are also shaped, sometimes irrevocably, by the events in our lives. A war, an economic depression, or a personal tragedy, for example, can wrench all certainty from our psyche, forcing us to see the world through a lens of fear and scarcity. Conversely, a sudden opportunity or a fortunate meeting can open doors we never knew existed. Knowledge, or the lack of it, will also shape our lives. What we know determines what we see as possible. A person who knows nothing of the stock market will never become an investor. A person unaware of personal development will likely never seek to improve their skills. So can the results of our efforts, we can either be elated and encouraged to push further, or deflated and discouraged into retreat, based entirely on our ability to achieve better outcomes and how we interpret those outcomes. But of all the factors that affect our lives, none has as much potential power for doing good as our innate and magnificent ability to dream. Dreams are the one thing that can truly transcend our current circumstances. Your environment doesn't own your dreams. Past events do not have to dictate them. Dreams are a preview of the life we wish to lead, a private screening of our potential future. When we stop merely dreaming and start allowing them to pull us, our dreams unleash a creative force that can overpower all obstacles hindering the attainment of our objectives. This pull power is the magnetic force of a desired future. harness must power, however defined. A fuzzy future has little pull power. A vague wish like, I want to be happy, or I want to be rich, is not a dream. It's a slogan. It has no detail, no texture, no emotional weight. To really achieve your dreams, to really let your future plans pull you, your dreams must be vivid. You must be able to close your eyes and not just see, but feel the reality of that dream. What does the success smell like? What does it sound like? Who is there with you? How do you feel when you wake up in that reality? This vividness transforms a passive wish into an active force. Now, there are two ways to face the future. You can face the future with anticipation, or you can face it with apprehension. One is fueled by clearly defined dreams that pull you forward. The other is dictated by fear of the unknown that holds you back. The choice, fundamentally, begins with the quality of your dreams. Teeps power of well-difficult dreams are wonderful, but they are not enough. It's not sufficient to have a brilliant, vivid painting of the desired result. An architect doesn't just have a beautiful rendering of a skyscraper, that's the inspiration. To erect a magnificent structure that will stand the test of time, you must also have a step-by-step blueprint of how to lay the foundation, pour the concrete, support the structure, and install the wiring. For the architecture of our lives, that blueprint is made of goals. Like a well-defined dream, well-defined goals work like magnets. They pull you in their direction. The better while you define them, the better while you describe them, the harder while mark on achieving them, the stronger to pull out. A goal that is written down, reviewed daily, and broken down into actionable steps exerts a powerful gravitational force on your daily actions. It helps you say no to distractions and yes to opportunities that align with your path. And believe me when I say that when the potholes of life threaten to stall you on the road to your success, the unexpected bill, the discouraging criticism, the failed attempt, you'll need a strong magnet to pull you forward. Without it, it's too easy to just pull over and give up. With it, you find a way to fix the flat tire and keep driving because the destination is too compelling to abandon. To understand how crucial goals are, observe the vast majority who do not have any. Instead of designing their lives with intention, these misguided people simply make a living reacting to the loudest demand of the day. They fight every day of their lives in the exhausting war zone of economic survival, choosing mere existence over substance and significance. They are busy, but they are not productive in a meaningful sense. No wonder the philosopher Thoreau said, "The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. That desperation is the silent ache of potential unfulfilled, a life lived by default, not by design." Or designs. T.G. File Far T. Joe Arnawai. After our breakfast meeting, my friend shared a pivotal insight with me. "I don't think your current bank balance is a true indicator of your level of intelligence," he said. So boy, was I happy to hear that. It was a relief to think that my situation wasn't a final verdict on my capabilities. He continued, "I think you have plenty of talent and ability and that you're much smarter than you realize." And that turned out to be true. I was smarter than I thought at the time. My potential was simply lying dormant, waiting to be activated. "Then why isn't my bank balance bigger?" I asked, the frustration evident in my voice. "Because you don't have enough reasons to accomplish," answered my friend with startling simplicity. And then he added the phrase that would become a cornerstone of my philosophy. "If you had enough motivation, you could do incredible things. You have enough intelligence, but not enough reasons." A key thought indeed. Have you resources? Since then I've discovered this fundamental truth: reasons come first, answers second. It seems that life has a mysterious way of camouflaging the answers, the methods, and the solutions in such a way that they become apparent only to those who are inspired enough to look for them, who have burning reasons to look for them. The information to become wealthy is widely available in books, courses, and from mentors, but it remains invisible noise to the person who lacks a compelling reason to seek it out. Let's put it another way. When you know what you want, and you want it badly enough, you will find a way to get it. The answers, methods, and solutions you need to solve the problems along the way will be revealed to you. Your mind, activated by a powerful why, will enter a state of heightened awareness, constantly scanning your environment for clues and resources. You will see connections where others see coincidence. Now, let's make this practical. What if you had to be rich? Not just wanted to be, but had to be. What if the very life of someone you love more than anything in the world depended on your being able to afford a specific, life-saving medical treatment available only overseas? What would you do? You would move mountains. You would work night and day. You would sell your car, your house, and ask everyone you know for help. You would become a relentless learning machine, devouring every book and tape on finance and entrepreneurship you could find. Let's further suppose that you just learned of a book or a cassette tape that would show you step by step how to make a fortune. Would you buy it? Of course you would. You wouldn't hesitate at the $20 price tag. You wouldn't say, "I'm too busy." The reason would make the answer obvious and the action immediate. Because you are already reading a book on success, it should come as no surprise to you that there are many good books and tapes on the subject of creating wealth. But if you don't have a deep, emotional, compelling reason to be rich, you probably won't read them or take the time to listen to them. They will gather dust on a shelf, representing a vague someday, wish instead of a burning today, necessity. There is an old saying, necessity is the mother of invention. How true, with that in mind. Always work on your reasons first and the answers second. Stoke the fire of your why, and you will naturally find the how. The big question you'll need to answer for yourself is, what motivates you? What gets you out of bed early and keeps you up late, fueled by passion rather than exhaustion? Different people are driven by different things. We all have our own unique combination of hot buttons, and if you can do some honest soul searching to hit the right combination, I'm sure you'll come up with a compelling list of your own. What are some of the great motivators for excelling? Aside from the obvious desire for financial gain and security, there are 4 other powerful, timeless motivators. The first one is recommendation. Great companies and savvy sales managers have long known that some people will do more for a moment of genuine public recognition than they will for a purely material reward. A trophy, a plaque, their name called out at a meeting, a write-up in a company newsletter. These things tap into a deep human need to be seen, to be valued, to feel that our efforts matter. That's why successful sales organizations, especially those involved in direct sales, take great pains to give recognition for any and all accomplishments, large or small. They realize that in our overcrowded, often impersonal world, most people feel that nobody cares, that they are just a number, that they don't matter. And recognition is a powerful kind of validation for their worthiness. In effect, those who recognize them are saying, hey, you are special, you make a difference. We see you, and we appreciate what you do. I believe that if more companies took greater care to recognize their employees, not just the salespeople, but also the executives making tough decisions, the secretaries keeping the office running smoothly, and the maintenance people ensuring a clean and safe environment, they would see an unbelievable surge in productivity, loyalty, and morale. People will work for a paycheck, but they will excel for appreciation. The second powerful motivator is the challenge of winning. This is one of the best and most sustainable reasons. Winning provides a unique cocktail of emotions: joy, pride, validation, and exhilaration. If you must be addicted to something, make it a positive addiction to winning, to the process of setting a challenge and overcoming it. I have some friends, all of whom are millionaires many times over, still work 10 to 12 hours a day building their businesses and making more millions. And it's not because they need the money. Their grandchildren's grandchildren are already taken care of. It's because they need the joy, the pleasure, and the deep satisfaction that come from their wins. To them, money isn't the big drive. They already have plenty. You know what it is? It's the journey itself, the exhilarating feeling that comes from playing the game well and winning. It's the thrill of the chase and the conquest. Once in a while, usually just after I give a seminar, someone will come up to me and say, if I had $1 million, I'd never work another day in my life. I always smile politely, but inside I think, that's probably why you don't have $1 million. That mindset is the very reason the universe seems to ensure that people who say things like that never make a fortune. They see work as a punishment to be escaped rather than a game to be won and a passion to be pursued. If they were to stumble upon wealth, they would all just quit and thus never experience the greater joys that come from building and contributing. The third great motivator is family. This is a powerful force that can drive a person to achieve heights they would never attempt for themselves alone. Some people will do for their loved ones what they will not do for themselves. The thought of providing a better life, a better education, or greater security for a spouse, children, or aging parents can be an incredibly potent source of strength and determination. I once met a man at a conference who told me, my family and I have a goal to travel around the world. Not just a quick trip, but to truly experience different cultures, to learn, to volunteer, and to make memories together. We've calculated that to do everything we want to do will take $250,000 a year. How incredible! Could a man's family affect him that much? Could the desire to create shared experiences for his wife and children fuel such a grand ambition? And the answer is, of course. How fortunate are those who are so profoundly affected by love? Their why is not a what but a who, and that is a motivation that can move worlds. Benevolency, the desire to share one's wealth and make a positive impact on the world, is the fourth great motivator. This is the point where success transcends the personal and becomes a legacy. When the great steel magnate Andrew Carnegie died, the story goes that his desk drawer was opened. Inside one of the drawers was a yellowed, fragile sheet of paper. On that slip of paper, dated from the time he was in his 20s, Carnegie had written the main goal for his life. I am going to spend the first half of my life accumulating money. I am going to spend the last half of my life giving it all away. You know what? Carnegie was so inspired and guided by this clear, benevolent purpose that he accumulated a fortune of over $450 million, which is equivalent to well over $4.5 billion today. And true to his word, during the last part of his life, he had the profound joy and satisfaction of giving it all away, funding libraries, universities, and institutions that still benefit humanity today. His wealth was not an end in itself, but a tool for a much larger, more meaningful purpose. Wouldn't it be wonderful to be motivated to achievement solely by such lofty and noble goals as benevolence from the very start? I must confess, however, that in the early years of my struggle to succeed, my motivation was a lot more down to earth, more visceral. My reason for succeeding was more basic, born from pain and embarrassment. In fact, it fell into the category of what I like to call nitty-gritty reasons. A nitty-gritty reason isn't always pretty or philosophical. It's the kind of raw, emotional spark that any one of us can have at any time on any day, and it can cause our lives to change direction in an instant. Let me tell you what happened to me. Shortly before I met my friend, I was lounging at home one day, probably feeling sorry for myself about my financial situation, when I heard a knock at the door. It wasn't a confident rap, but a timid, hesitant knock, almost as if the person on the other side was afraid to disturb me. When I opened the door, I looked down to see a pair of big, hopeful brown eyes staring up at me. There stood a frail little girl of about 10, clutching an order form. She told me, with all the courage and determination her little heart could muster, that she was selling Girl Scout cookies. It was a masterful presentation. She went through the several flavors, explained a special deal they were running, and concluded that it was only $2 per box. How could anyone refuse this earnest, polite child? Finally, with a big smile and ever so politely, she asked me, would you like to buy some, sir? And I wanted to. I wanted to support her, to reward her courage, to be the kind of man who helps a kid out. Except for one thing, I didn't have $2. I reached into my pockets, knowing they were empty. Boy, was I embarrassed. A hot flush of shame spread across my face. Here I was, a grown man, a father, had been to college, was gainfully employed, and yet I didn't have $2 to my name. I was broke, and the evidence was standing right in front of me in a little green uniform. Naturally, I couldn't confess this to the little girl with the big brown eyes. I couldn't shatter her image of adults as capable providers, so I did the next best thing. I lied to her. I put on a false smile and said, thanks, but I've already bought Girl Scout cookies this year, and I've still got plenty stacked in the house. Oh, no, that simply wasn't true. There wasn't a single box of Girl Scout cookies in my house, but it was the only thing I could think of to get me off the hook, to save myself from the humiliation. And it did. The little girl's face fell just a little, but she maintained her politeness. That's okay, sir. Thank you very much. And with that, she turned around and went on her way. I stared after her for what seemed like a very long time, watching her walk to the next house. A storm of emotions was raging inside me. Finally, I closed the door behind me and, leaning my back against it as if to shut out the world I was failing in, I cried out to the empty house, I don't want to live like this anymore. I've had it with being broke. And I've had it with lying. I'll never be embarrassed again by not having any money in my pocket. That day I made a promise to myself, a nitty-gritty, simple promise. I would earn enough to always have several $100s in my pocket at all times. Not in the bank, but in my pocket as a tangible, immediate reminder that I was no longer that man who couldn't afford $2. This is what I mean by a nitty-gritty reason. It may not win me any prize for philosophical greatness, but it was raw, it was real, and it was enough to have a permanent effect on the rest of my life. It was my why. But my Girl Scout cookie story does have a happy ending. One that provided a beautiful moment of closure. Several years later, after much hard work and progress, I was walking out of my bank where I had just made a hefty deposit. Feeling a sense of accomplishment, I was crossing the street to get into my car when I saw two little girls who were selling candy for some girls' organization. It was like a scene from my past replaying itself. One of them approached me, saying, "Mister, would you like to buy some candy?" "I probably would," I said playfully, my hand instinctively going to the thick roll of bills in my pocket. "What kind of candy do you have?" "It's almond roca." "Almond roca. That's my favorite," I said with genuine excitement. "How much is it?" "It's only $2. $2! The same amount that had once been an insurmountable barrier. It couldn't be. I was excited. "How many boxes of candy have you got?" "I've got 5. Looking at her friend, I said, "And how many boxes do you have left?" "I've got 4. That's 9. Okay, I'll take them all. At this, both girls' mouths fell open in comical unison as they exclaimed, "Really? Sure," I said. "I've got some friends at the office that I'll pass them around to." Excitedly, they scurried to stack all the boxes together, their little arms struggling to hold them all. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my money, and counted 18 crisp dollars into their hands. As I was about to leave, the boxes tucked under my arm, one of the girls looked up at me with a look of pure, unadulterated admiration and said, "Mister, you're really something. How about that?" Can you imagine the feeling? Spending only $18 and having someone look you in the face and say, with complete sincerity, "You're really something." In that moment, I wasn't just buying candy, I was buying back a piece of my dignity and proving to myself how far I had come. Now, you know why I always carry a few $100s on me. I'm not about to miss chances to be that person ever again. Let me give you another example of a nitty-gritty reason for wanting to do well. I have a friend who used to be a school teacher in a small town. After several years as a teacher, he felt a restless desire for something more, a calling to test himself in a different arena. He was looking forward to making a break and starting a new career. One day, without telling anyone, he mustered his courage, quit his secure teaching job, and jumped headfirst into the world of sales. When his family found out about it, he became the butt of lots of criticism and worried lectures. But the worst reaction came from his brother, who seemed to be getting great pleasure from harassing and belittling his decision. "You're going to go right down the drain," mocked his brother, often in front of others. "You had a good, respectable teaching job. Now you're going to lose everything you've got. You must be out of your mind." The criticism wasn't constructive. It was designed to tear him down. His brother kept taunting him every chance he had, reveling in the role of the "I told you so" skeptic. As my friend relates, the way my brother acted, his sheer delight in predicting my failure made me so profoundly angry that I decided, right then and there, that I would get rich. I would succeed, if for no other reason than to prove him wrong. Today, that former school teacher is one of my millionaire friends, living a life of freedom and abundance that his brother could never have imagined. The taunts that were meant to break him only served to forge his determination in steel. This story, as well as my own cookie story, demonstrate a powerful principle. Even negative emotions like anger and embarrassment, when properly channeled and transformed, can act as powerful gritty motivators to achieve great things. They provide the initial, explosive spark that gets the engine started. Do you have something to prove? To a doubting parent, a former boss, a critical peer, or most importantly, to yourself, do you have some old embarrassment you want to wipe off the slate? Some memory of failure that still stings? You know, that old saying, massive success is the sweetest revenge, is true. Not revenge against others, but against your own former limitations. It's the profound satisfaction of transcending the person you once were. As you can see, there are almost as many reasons for people to do well as there are people. They range from the lofty and noble to the personal and gritty. The key is not to judge your reasons, but to have you get off tem, to find what makes your heart beat faster, what makes you determined, what makes you say, "I will not settle." How does one find the hot button law or buttons that can transform a life of modest accomplishment into a life of wealth, happiness, and significance? That's the subject of the next chapter, where we will move from understanding motivation to the practical mechanics of building a life by design.